G'day, wrestling mates. Welcome to the Southern Joe Wrestling Show with your wrestling mate, Southern Joe. This is episode 4. Thank you for all of those who've viewed the video so far, and even those that have put up a like, and even those on Facebook where I've shared my content that have put on a like as well. I haven't had any dislikes so far, which is good news. We're taking small steps, and I'm growing and trying to improve my content. Today, I'm going to talk about the Vince McMahon case and more about the periphery of it rather than the allegations themselves. Because, I mean, the allegations are out there in the public space and you can easily see what they are. And my thoughts are, I like to always think that, people are innocent until proven guilty, which is basically the way the justice system in Western countries like the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand are supposed to work. And by and large, it does work that way pretty much, because until you get a man bites dog type story, it usually works that way in the vast majority of cases. Also, too, one thing that tends to sway me in the fact that I personally think Vince would be guilty is that, number one, if he's getting people to sign NDAs, that's almost an admission of guilt and saying, here, sign this, have a bunch of money, we'll pay you to make it go away. I also believe that Vince reminds me of a bloke that I worked for when I first moved down to Melbourne. I'm not going to name the guy because, number one, he's passed away. Number two, he was a sort of semi-well-known guy in Victoria. He did do some good things, but by and large, he was a bit of a, let's say, a different cat. There was various rumors about him and what he paid for, and also rumors about his dalliances, let's say, but none of them were proven. But it was one of those situations where you say, you look at the guy and you know him and you say, I can believe that. And he was also, like Vince McMahon, he was the type of guy who could talk his way and charm his way out of any sticky situation. And I'd seen him do that firsthand. And Vince, to me, from all the stories you hear about him, gives off that vibe like he can talk his way out of almost anything. Like when you hear about wrestlers who say, they've gone to him to see him about this situation or that situation with creative storylines, what have you, and they leave because Vince has made them seem like whatever he's done them a favor, even though you think, that son of a gun, he's talked me out of what I was griping about. That, and later on, it's going to lead me to the way the internet community, the internet wrestling community, a good chunk of you guys out there, well, not you guys, should be unfair to say that because, but there's some people out there in the internet wrestling community that all they do is like stirring up crap. They just like stirring up hornets' nests and don't really care about people's feelings, because we're still dealing with human beings that have to face their families. They have to face, obviously, Vince McMahon and others are going to have to face justice. And they've got families to face as well to say, hey, what's going on here? What really went on? And we have to keep that as perspective when we all try and type out our little nuggets of how clever we can be on social media. And I'll get back to that later. But on this case with Vince McMahon, now normally I've got a whole bunch of notes, but I'm going to go off the top of my head. I've got a list of names that are written here, who are the people who are involved, accused of what they're doing. The first person I'm going to talk about is Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, the brother of Roadway Animal. It's been said of him in the past by some that he can be a charming man and he's got a certain look that can make it good with the ladies and so forth. And he's married the Bella twins' mother, who's now apparently battling cancer. Wish her all the best with that battle. He's claiming that he's a victim in all this. That we'd like to see how that is, because I think Jim Cornette made an interesting point on one of his podcasts that if he was uncomfortable about having the plaintiff, Miss Grant, being trafficked to him, to his room for an encounter, then if he was truly uncomfortable with it, they could have made a pact to say, yeah, let's tell Vince that we did it, but they could have just sat down and watched a movie together. Because he is married. He's got a wife who's ill as well. So if he is guilty on that, then it's almost as bad as all the stuff that Vince has done, because you're manipulating not only the girl who had the NDA broken, allegedly, we have to say, but it looks like it has been, of the girl who's brought about this complaint, let's just put it that way, Ms. Janelle Grant. But if he is guilty of manipulating her along with McMahon, and he's now trying to throw Vince McMahon under the bus by saying he's a victim, but also, too, he's also really hurting his wife, who is battling cancer. That's really a bad thing. One thing I'm glad that I held off making this video long enough, I really wanted to hear from Bruce Pritchard, because I feel like a lot of the haters have been throwing him under the bus. I enjoy his podcast, so I might be biased on this, but I get the feeling that it's a similar situation going back to my old boss. He didn't. If he was playing up, even when we knew he was going across the road, because where we worked across the road from there was a 24-hour adult joint where they sold adult videos, and also had peep shows and had strippers as well. And he frequently went over there, not even trying to sort of go down the road first, then go up there. He just directly walked across there in a diagonal manner from our place of work. So he didn't hide that, but at the same time, he didn't boast about that and say, "Oh, look what I watched, or look what I got for my money." And I feel that Bruce may have been that way. Vince may have been that way as far as being selective about who he told his dalliances and this and that, and I don't think he went into as much detail as what the lawsuit against him went into. I mean, that's incredible detail that you just would not want to subject anyone to, no matter how much you feel you want to boast about it. And I do get the feeling that Vince McMahon feels like he could get away with anything, because he is a very gregarious, in some ways, a charismatic figure, not so much in a good way, but in a way where charismatic basically in its truest form means that you can overwhelm someone with a charm offensive, whether it's a genuine one or not. He can talk his way in or out of any situation. Also, too, he's old school as far as the wrestling business goes, in that he's almost like the Las Vegas sort of thing. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and I reckon he's that way with his offer. what happens in his offices, what happens in hotel rooms. And he probably just thought, well, it's my company, I can do what I want. And probably not either not appreciating the full rules of being a public company, publicly traded company, or he didn't fully, or he just ignored the ways and wherefores of being a public traded company. I was glad to read the transcript about what Bruce said. It was pretty much the similar thing that Triple H should have said at the start of the Royal Rumble press conference. Bruce probably only, my feeling is that at most Bruce knew that he had concubines. What to what extent any of this went on about, he probably wouldn't know because he's not in the room with them, and neither is anyone else except for Vince, any of the girls in question, and perhaps a third party if he was going in for the threesome. If I was Triple H and knowing that this stuff had just come out 48 hours before the Royal Rumble, and I knew that there was a press conference scheduled, I would have started the press conference with, thank you for all for coming. Yes, we're aware that the WWE and Vince McMahon are subject of a lawsuit, and in accordance with legal protocol, there's nothing we can say about it. This press conference is here for the Royal Rumble, and that should have been end of story. Shouldn't have allowed any questions on it because, yes, everyone would like to know what they know and what they did know, but that's going to come out if this goes to Discovery, because then they have to, under oath, say that I knew about this or didn't know about that or what have you. And this is where it brings into account Stephanie and Linda. Now, Stephanie looks like she's been avoiding her father for the last couple of years. I've heard all the stories in regards to that as to when she came back and when she went away. And obviously, Linda McMahon has distanced herself from the WWE altogether, even though I think she still holds some sort of executive position somewhere along the line. I'm not sure where, but she's got other irons in other fires. And Shane seems to have removed himself completely, apart from when he came back for a cup of coffee with that Royal Rumble appearance a couple of years ago, which seemed to be a bit sort of funny in that regard. Now, as for Brock Lesnar, it's going to be interesting to see what he knew about this and how much participation he has in this, given that he seems to be the subject of some of the sexually explicit videos and of the content. And to me, that seems to be incredible that he would do that, given that he is married to one of the women that in the 90s and the 2000s was one of the most desired women in all of the WWE, that being Sable. So it beggars belief that he is involved with it. Now, as I say, truth will come out in the wash, but if he is guilty, then it's like, what are you doing, man? And also, his whole legacy is being removed, which indicates that the WWE knows more than what they're letting on, only because, once again, there's a legal investigation going on. People can't just come out willy-nilly. The people that can come out willy-nilly and give this opinion or that opinion is us fans, and also us people that are content providers. Oh, now I'm a content provider, but I'm being seen by a minuscule amount of people compared to your Jim Cornettes and your Conrad Thompsons and Busted Opens and so forth. But we're the ones that can make comment, but I try and temper my comments because at the end of the day, these are all human beings. Some of them are going to be showing, look like they're showing evil intent with stuff and debauchery. And, I mean, yeah, if that's the case, but I do get disappointed with certain sections of the internet wrestling community. The way some of you folk have just dissed and really piled in to what's going on here without a forethought for any of the victims or even the defendants. Everyone's just this way and that way. Look, in my opinion, this is what we know. We know that Vince McMahon has issued some NDAs. There needs investigation on that. This NDA with Janelle Grant, he looks like he decided nut for whatever reason. And it seems to be the popular theory that he's broken the agreement because someone's leaked details about Janelle Grant to the WWE board, which got him taken off the board. And she said, "Nope, you haven't paid the rest of the $3 million, which is what it was purported to be." And now the pile-on is coming on, and investigations are happening here, there, and everywhere. Apart from that, yeah, we can speculate and so forth, but you really got to make sure that you specify that what you're saying is your speculation, not that you're saying, yeah, I know that this is what's happened, because we don't. None of us do. We can almost place ourselves in the room as a fly on the wall, but they always say that there's three sides to the story. This side, that side, and the truth somewhere in the middle. But this is a big, big middle, so it can be so forth. If some of the facts have been distorted, it's actually that's what's interesting too, is Vince McMahon's response, saying that some of the allegations are distorted lies. So the only thing you could almost say, if Vince McMahon is actually telling the truth, and it's hard to see whether you don't know 100%. You can never be 100%. That we've got a saying here in Australia is that if you embellish a story, you put a bit of mayo on it. So one wonders that without actual evidence, has Janelle Grant or any of the people who have put forward complaints about Mr. McMahon or Vince McMahon, have they put mayo on there to embellish their story and get a bit more traction? If they have, they shouldn't do it, because it does then ruin their case, or damages it anyway. So hopefully it gets resolved and everyone finds peace, no matter who they are, and they find help as well. If Vince McMahon is truly guilty of all this, then he desperately needs help. Sure, he'll probably end up with a jail term this time. He's avoided it before with a steroid trial. But if he is guilty enough that he goes to jail, then hopefully he gets the help to rehabilitate himself and realise the error of his ways. Also, too, I hope that all the parties involved, if they need any sort of counselling or just some sort of management of their affairs, I hope they get all the help they need, because it is a very sorry situation. And at a time when basically wrestling is on a high, because All Elite Wrestling is doing a farewell for Sting, and it's going to be in front of 20,000 people and a big pay-per-view audience. We're on the road to WrestleMania. We just had a very successful Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber comes to Australia. It's going to be in Perth. So wrestling doesn't really need this sort of coverage. It's doing fine on its own, but I just hope that everyone, my final word is I hope that everyone who is in need of whatever guidance and help gets that help. All right, that finishes that off. And I hope the folks that just like trolling, especially on this All Elite versus WWE thing, there shouldn't be a divide. Yes, the two companies are in competition with each other, and WWE are way, way ahead because they've got a half century head start and about $8 billion head start. But All Elite can become a good number two, and you never know. 20, 30 years' time, that might be a number one. You just never know. No one ever thought that WCW would start beating WWE. But the thing is, see so many where